Celebrating 44 years on the air, Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, a compelling story on land conservation in the Gulf states. It's definitely a journey. In Southern Gardening, a double feature that's pretty in pink and the tale of a summer crush. We'll explain. And you'll love this story. They don't make cowboys more genuine than this guy. And later in the show, the conclusion of our special journey into land conservation. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for joining us today on Farm Week. Today, a story on a subject dear to the hearts of many, conservation. All of it made possible by a unique coalition of groups working to increase voluntary conservation in the 5 Gulf states. And for everyone involved, it's a journey.
My name's Jim Curry. Grew up between New Orleans and Pass Christian. I must have had a desire somewhere I must have been attracted to forestry and land and everything because my grandfather was a lumberman. Never dreamed that I'd live on my land. I was just putting together, and anytime something came up for sale next to it, I'd try to get it and make the parcels a little bigger and what have you. Then Katrina came along and took away our house, and after about a year we said, well, you know, maybe moving up to the farm's not a bad idea. When I got into it, I was kind of a sponge because I really didn't have a background in this stuff. It wasn't until a number of years down the line that I was not seeing the forest because of the trees. Right here, where that foaming water is, the stream is diving down right there, and it's cutting down. That channel is very much in sight. This area will not look like this forever.
Land conservation is the restoration, preservation, or enhancement of any property, really. I hear some people say that this property or that property is just holding the world together. Well, they all play a vital role in the ecosystem.
About 85% of the land in Mississippi is in private ownership, and every landowner either enhances water quality or degrades water quality. The water quality in the Mississippi Sound is the direct summation of all the upstream landowners' actions.
You can see how all these big trees in the middle, all that ground has sloughed off the sides here. All that land is all going to end up in Bay St. Louis. Every bit of bay thing you see right there. You'll see a stream. It looks beautiful to look at it, but if you know what you're looking at, it's a real problem. These forests up in these upper ends of the counties do protect the aquifer. They're a big filter, really. You want everything to go through forest land. You want all your water to filter through a forest land. You don't want it going straight from the field into the creeks.
Land conservation and stormwater management can work hand in hand. And I think that's very important here on the coast because where you have those special lands, they will be the buffer for the streams that will hold the stormwater on the land instead of quickly draining off.
If you look at a watershed of our creeks and tributaries and then into the rivers and then ultimately to the oceans, then it's very easy to see where, you know, good stuff happening within that watershed is enhancing the whole ecosystem and the whole watershed.
Great story. We'll conclude It's a Journey later in the show.
What's that old saying? Pink isn't just a color, it's an attitude. In Southern Gardening this week, Gary Bachman says pink is bright, vibrant, fun, and perfect for your landscape. Everything, he says, is pretty in pink. Here's Gary.
One of the most cheerful flower colors that can be grown in any home garden and landscape is pink. Now you may be thinking, I'm going to be sharing Vista Bubblegum Supertunia. That's a good one, but not today. Let's take a look at a few plants that produce flowers that are pretty in pink. Magellan pink zinnia are simply joyful, and they illuminate any landscape. I love the fact that these plants are packed with numerous fully double 5 to 6 inch flowers that beam with bright pink petals. Superbena's Sparkling Rosé is a fantastic verbena selection. This plant produces large flower clusters of soft pink on the outside petals and the deep ruby in the center. The flowers completely cover the canopy of dark green, powdery mildew-resistant foliage all summer without deadheading. Fireworks Gomphrena has been an outstanding garden performer since being named a Mississippi Medallion winner in 2010. It's covered with iridescent, hot pink flowers whose bright yellow tips give the appearance of a never-ending show of exploding fireworks. Angelonia are called summer snapdragons. Serenita Pink was named an All-America Selection winner in 2014. This is one of my favorites from the Serenita series and have pink flower spikes on a compact growing plant, only about 14 inches tall. I believe if you grow any of these plants, your garden will be the belle of the ball and pretty in pink. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
In Southern Gardening, a bonus segment today. When you head to the garden center to find what you need for your landscape, think Mophead, Summer Crush, and Vanilla Strawberry. Here's Gary Bachman once again with an explanation.
This time of year, going to the nursery, you'll find hydrangeas without any leaves. But before you pass on these containers of sticks, let me show you the summer color that Endless Summer and First Edition hydrangeas will give you. The Endless Summer hydrangeas are big leaf selections that have the unique ability to bloom consistently on both old and new wood. Removal of spent flowers will encourage rebloom. The original is a Mophead selection with beautiful 8-inch diameter flowers all summer long. The flowers are pink in alkaline soils and blue in acidic soil. Summer Crush has intense, deep coloration of big raspberry red blooms. This compact hydrangea has dark green glossy leaves and fits smaller spaces. Twist and Shout produces abundant lace cap blooms all summer long. Lacy centers are surrounded by gorgeous blossoms of periwinkle blue or pink, depending on soil type. The other group of hydrangeas I love are the First Edition paniculatas. Vanilla Strawberry has enormous flowers with a blend of white and strawberry on upright red stems. Strawberry Sundae is similar to Vanilla Strawberry. Flowers emerge creamy white and change to pink. The compact habit has striking flowers and is great for patio containers. And Berry White has flowers that start out white and then progress to dark pink. Coloring occurs from the bottom and transitions to the top of the panicle. Look for Endless Summer and First Edition hydrangeas at your local garden center this spring. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a short break, but stick around. Coming up, we conclude It's a Journey, a special report on land conservation in the Gulf States. We'll talk to landowner Jim Curry once again about his property and his legacy. Other experts also talk about how economic development and conservation can actually work in tandem, two things you don't always see talked about together. Don't go away. We'll be right back on Farm Week.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations, and their faith. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance toward the views of others. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith, and their right to make their own plans and arrive at their own decisions, and their ability and power to enlarge their lives and plan for the happiness of those they love. I believe that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. That these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
There's no question that cattle is king in the U.S. Beef cattle are raised in all 50 states. 96% of the American herd is family-owned. It takes a special kind of someone to run a ranch. Today, a tribute to just such a rancher in Mississippi, a state with nearly 1 million head of cattle. From producer Brian Utley, here's the story of Ted Parker, Mississippi's Farmer of the Year.
Very thankful for the blessings the good Lord has given me, because I never expected to have all of this. I never dreamed of having all of this.
I guess God always knew I wanted to live on a farm, but you better be careful what you pray for, it might come true. A lot of people go through life and they don't find what God has planned for them to do, but I do believe with all my heart that God wanted Ted to do this and for me to do it with him, and we've accomplished a great thing.
I always loved cattle. I wanted cattle. I remember thinking if I could ever get me 300 head and a good job in town, boy, that'd be the best thing in the world, you know. When I graduated high school, I borrowed $5,000 and bought my first cattle. I guess I've owned more cattle than the year after. Every year since 1978, I've just never stopped growing. After Janet and I got married, everything she made, everything I made, we lived, and other than that, we put it back in the farm. In 1990, we bought this place in Seminary. It was a dream come true for me, and I thought, boy, I've got it now, you know. I never thought I would have anything other than this. I just hoped and prayed I could pay for this.
So he had 2 jobs and cattle, and I had a job. So there were a lot of sacrifices. Ted called me one day and I was working at a vet hospital as an office manager. And Ted said, I've got to hire a secretary. And I said, well, I'm coming home and I'm your secretary. So we've been working together for 20 years.
Every time I'd see opportunity, I would take advantage of it. And I've just kind of continued to grow and grow and grow. And I rented some land from Cal-Maine Foods, and adjoining that land there was a dairy, and before long I had bought the dairy and I started growing cattle under the barns and feed them a silage-based ration. We put mostly steers there. We can put a few more pounds of gain on them there, but it's very unique. I don't know of anybody doing, you know, as far as anybody doing what I'm doing, nobody in Mississippi, I feel relatively sure.
You know, when I started with Ted, it was just me and him and his father-in-law working. That was it. You know, I only worked for about 60 days that fall, and we had everything done. That's how far this has grown since 1994. You start dissecting it down to locations or a group of guys that work here, a group of guys that work there. It still takes every hand to make the day.
Our big emphasis and our job has always been to get these cattle and get them healthy, take stress off of them. They're just like us. When they're really stressed, they get sick. And we want to take the stress off of them, make them feel at home. And that my crew, everyone knows that their job is to take the stress off of them. The sooner you can make them feel comfortable, the better off the cattle are.
They're very knowledgeable in what they're doing. They have a system, it's systematic. You can tell that everybody knows their place and their job, and they enjoy it. That's something that kind of speaks from other places that you go where it's just a job. These guys are fully invested in the operation here. They support Ted and his family and everything that they do. And, you know, that just makes better employees. It makes for a better product, a better environment. It makes everything just a whole better experience.
If you don't love this business, you won't do it, because it's hot weather and it's rainy weather and it's cold weather. You know, it's a 7-day-a-week job. And everybody that works for me loves what they do. Now, occasionally we hire somebody that thinks they might love it, but they don't last very long.
It comes down to the cowboy code. You know, you, as an employee, you ride for the brand. And you know, it's not just letters on the animal, but it's the entity of the operation.
Everybody's a team. It's not just one person running the show. It's just been about what we needed to do. And I guess that's kind of how I see this, as teamwork. And now our 2 sons are involved in the business. And a lot of young people don't want to work that hard. But I think they see the benefits and see that it's so worthwhile what we're doing.
I've worked for him off and on since I was 17 years old, and I'm 42. Ted and Janet Parker, they hold a large percentage of making me who I am. And I've watched him through the years to make the deal right. I've watched him take a beating at times to honor his word, to honor his character, to honor, you know, who he is. And that's one thing that I've always admired the most about him is, you know, it's never been about him.
The fact that he's humble and he's just a normal, everyday guy. I think it's key for people who are doing business with him, because they feel like they can trust him and they feel like that, you know, everything's being handled fairly. And it means a lot to our local producers, the buying station here, because they're able to bring their cattle somewhere local. They don't have to haul it as far. They don't have the shrink and things like that, and that they're getting the best deal possible. And I think that really makes this operation special. We're excited that he is our nominee for Mississippi. It's special for Covington County given the fact that cattle is such a big industry here, and so we think there couldn't be anybody better than Ted to represent us on this great scale.
I don't know what I've done to get here. I've just got up, worked hard every day, and had fun doing it. It's such an honor, a great honor, and I really can't believe that I'm sitting here doing this, but I am.
We've never dreamed that we'd ever want any kind of accolades for anything that we do. You know, we've never even thought in that realm that somebody would take notice of us, because there's other people doing great things too. So we're very humbled and very blessed and feel great. And Ted's a great manager. He's been a great husband, father. It's been good.
Earlier, we introduced you to Landowner Jim Curry in the beginning of It's a Journey, part of our original series on land conservation in the Gulf states. In the conclusion, Curry says he knows he's running out of years but wants to preserve his conservation legacy and found a way to make it happen.
All of a sudden, that little pussycat-looking stream up there doesn't look like quite the same. It looks like it could be a raging monster down here. which it can, because it doesn't have a floodplain now. So when the water comes up, it comes up high in this gorge and has a way of just making the gorge bigger. At one point in time, what we saw midway there, where all the trees were sitting out in the middle and everything, that's what it looked like here at one point. But all those islands and those trees, they've all long gone. And now the gully is much more open from one side to the other. Well, that's all solid land. It ain't there no more. The coastal counties are fast growing. People want to live here, and there's a constant process of fragmentation, land fragmentation, ownership fragmentation, and consequent development. You know, some of my land is more desirable from a development point of view than others. Some of it I know that if I let the land go, it would get developed. There's no doubt about that. When it's in green space, there's always hope for restoration. But once that green space is gone and it's developed in some way, it's all over, and you never get it back again. I would hate to see it shrink again, you know, because there's only so much of it out there, particularly in this urbanizing environment that we've got.
Land conservation is not setting aside lands to keep people off of it. It is not depriving economic development, because I always feel that economic development and conservation can work together.
You may reserve the right to do row crop agriculture, produce cattle, or maybe a working forest and produce silvicultural products. You may have other rights that you give up, a right to subdivide, a right to develop the property, a right to make certain economic uses of the property. When you give up those rights, the value of that right may be taken as a tax incentive. Landowners have different objectives for how they want to use their property. Some want to develop their property. Some landowners want to manage it for aesthetics. Some want to manage it for wildlife. Some want to manage it for income. And so what we try to do is try to look at the landowner objectives and put together a land management plan that helps them reach their objectives in a way that mimics natural functions and processes. It's something a landowner can do by themselves, but professional help with land conservation is often a good thing.
Long-term benefits of land conservation would include economic values, aesthetic values, and probably a legacy to individuals that initiate the conservation activities on that.
Land conservation offers the landowner the opportunity to decide what they want to preserve and why.
It's been very good for my health, and it's been very satisfying at many levels, but people that are in forestry, like myself, we're getting older. My kids, I've got 3 kids, but they're not going to be able, they've got their own lives. Now my challenge is to try to see that it perpetuates, because I'm obviously running out of years. You hate to do all this and then, basically find out, well, it was fun, but it was just for an instant in time, and it didn't make any difference in the long run. You'd like to see it carry on.
A lot of people have a desire to pass land from generation to generation, and you can feel good about what you're handing down to your children and your community and your children's children if you've initiated a conservation plan on property.
It says, I want to put a conservation easement on this land because my children at this time don't have as much interest in the natural area as I do, but I think in the future they're going to look at this quite differently. So if we have a conservation easement where this is being preserved, then they will still have that opportunity. With a conservation easement, the children may decide to sell the land, but the conservation easement goes with it, and therefore it will always fulfill the wishes of the owner.
You know, there's always more to do. Well, now, you know, I'm on the verge. This is really exciting. We're putting in our grazing units. We can see the, you know, we'll have these piney woods cows circulating from, you know, we'll be able to shift them from unit to unit, and we'll, you know, help manage the understory, and, you know, it's going to be beautiful. And so it's exciting, you know, it's not stagnant. It seems like you're always growing and getting new insights about it. So, you know, you don't want to walk away from it mid-stride. You'd like to see this vision, you know, accomplished. But I know at the same time that it's a process. It's never like we're there. You know, it's almost like, are we there yet? No, we're never there yet. You know, it's a journey.
Well said. It's a journey. It's a process. Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.